Welcome back, gamers. Today we're going to be talking about a build, and more specifically an exotic that, for the vast majority of its life cycle, was absolute garbage. That's not an exaggeration, it was genuinely just terrible, but not anymore. The exotic in question is the Vespers of Radius. For those unaware of what they do, first, I don't blame you because almost no one did, and second, Bungie recently updated this exotic to function a bit differently, so here's what it does now. Rifts now periodically release arc shockwaves, and the shockwaves also blind any nearby enemies. If you have an arc subclass equipped, spoiler alert, you want to have an arc subclass equipped always. If you get any final blows with this shockwave, it'll create an arc explosion, dealing more damage, and again, blinding all nearby enemies. Finally, Rift energy recharges faster while you're surrounded by targets. Here's a few raw examples to show you what I mean. Oh, thanks for the bubble. This is fine. This kit went from contending against patrol dregs to dominating large chunks of the endgame, and in the background footage you're watching, we're using triple arc Warlocks, all rocking Vesper Radius, and playing as reckless as can be, and still, it dominates. While this footage is playing in the background, let's talk about the build itself and how the gameplay loop works. Your gameplay loop consists of getting into close engagements with large packs of enemies and utilizing your rift as much as humanly possible. You'll also be chucking grenades left and right while doing so due to the ridiculously fast regeneration of your abilities. Even your melee can play a part in giving you your energy back should you feel brave enough to go for one. One key thing to keep in mind here is that all of your abilities will be chaining off of each other, and each will recharge the other too. Oh, did I forget your super? Yeah, this build will also pump super energy out faster than a Taylor Swift ticket sale going on for concerts. You can get your Chaos Reach or your Stormcaller, if you'd like, in a matter of seconds with how crazy the energy buildup here is. So, the general loop will consist of you rifting to blind and or / kill a large pack of enemies, following up with a grenade or a melee, while also potentially damaging a champion into either activating their barrier shield for a barrier champion, or stunning an unstoppable champion, or stunning an overload champion. And of course, the champion portion is not mandatory, and you can run anti-champion weapon guns if you'd like instead. Speaking of guns, what weapons do we use for this build? Well, that's the best part. This particular build, outside of possibly using a particular champion stunning weapon, you can run whatever the hell you want in every slot. Hypothetically, you can go to Root of Nightmares and run 3 blue weapons and still be able to blast through the entire raid on just using abilities alone. Now, I will note that having a glaive shield is a great complement to this build, as this just allows you to block as a literal shield and protect yourself from damage, while also allowing you to build up your energy over time through your rifts and your Arc Souls. So we've shown the build in action, but let's show off what makes it tick through the armor mods and all that stuff. So going over on screen here, if you want to copy and paste this stuff, feel free. Just pause the video if you'd like and copy that. But generally speaking, I have Chaos Reach, Healing Rift, Burst Glide, Chain Lightning, Pulse Nade, Electrostatic Mind, and Arc Souls, and then Spark of Shock, Amplitude, Resistance, and Ions. None of this is really mandatory. This is just what fit and worked well, so I didn't change anything. Moving on, we have armor. In armor, we have your usual resistance, recovery stuff for your points, and surprisingly, and by surprisingly I mean not at all, you will be running 100 resilience for more survivability, recovery for getting more rifts back even more consistently. I would run 100 here, but my Vespers actually is not that great. I need to go farm one out when it's not on the damn moon for lost sectors. And then I also have 100 discipline, because discipline also is great for this build, as I'm chucking grenades all the time. Anyway, back to the armor. Then we have things like recuperation and absolution in the boots for more regen and healing, and then a random arc cap that you can just like replace with anything you'd like, depending on what weapons you're using. I also have Artifice Armor for additional 3-point stat boosts if you have Artifice Armor in your vaults. Then in gloves, we have Focusing Strike, Impact Induction, and these are also ability regen-esque in the sense of when I do a melee attack, I get class ability energy, which turns into my Rift again. Then I get more energy when I use my Rift, make an arc explosion, get my nade back, etc. Same thing here, causing damage when the melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. You can kind of see this is literally just one giant loop, and it's silly. And then for the... we went to weapons, whoopsie. For the bond, we have Powerful Attraction for when you rift. You just suck up all the orbs that you may have made through your abilities or your weapon kills, so instant super energy buildups. Then Distribution, again, to reduce your cooldowns on all of your abilities, which is neat. Speaking of which, in the helmet, we have Dynamo that I completely forgot to mention until now. I don't know how, given that this mod is really stupid. It reduces your super cooldown when using your class ability near targets, which you will be literally doing on command non-stop. And then finally, we obviously have Vesper Radiance. This kind of just depends on which activity you're doing and what kind of resistance that you need. Obviously, if you're doing arc-based, let's say GM, then you can use harmonic resistances, or maybe you need a void resist for void-based enemies, like let's say GM Moon Battlegrounds. And you can also swap this out for Charged Up, or a Concussive Dampener, or maybe you just want reserves for your weapons too. That also works perfectly fine. Last mod that I didn't call out, Bomber, where this is your cooldown on your grenades when using your class ability. Again, you'll be doing that literally on command non-stop, so you're going to be chucking nades left and right easily. Finally, I want to mention the artifact for this season and Season of the Deep and what I have on. I will say that these are helpful, however, I don't think these will be mandatory must-haves going forward when this season is gone. I think the build will still live on in its own. That being said, I have Amped Up, stay amplified longer while you have an Arc subclass equipped, check. Thunderous Retort, gain bonus Arc super damage if cast while critically wounded or while you're amplified. Lasts until the end of the super activation, so Chaos Reach, basically. Then we have Electric Armor, gain damage resistance while you're amplified, which, snap out a finger, you're amplified. And then Shock and Awe, Arc Final Blows while you're amplified. Summon a Burst of Lightning that damages and jolts targets. Very helpful in an arc-based build, of course. Overall, I'll say that the only place in the game where this build won't instantly dominate is places with very little ad density to not allow you to get your motor going, or boss encounters where something like a Well of Radiance will still be better for damage purposes just to crank out more damage very fast on a boss. The Moon Psyops Battleground GM boss room is a good example of this, where there's some enemies in here, but very few and far between, where you can't really abuse your max potential, and you're always going to be on the lookout for a Sabathun to kill her as fast as possible with a relic anyway. Finally, I'll be leaving a dim link in the description below in case anyone wants to try this out for yourselves, and while you're down there, if you enjoyed the video and the build, drop a like or maybe comment and sub for more content. It does help the channel and is much appreciated. That's all I got for this one. I'll catch you guys in the next one.